Hello, welcome to the Happy Families podcast. Today on the pod, it's a Doctor's Desk episode. A brand new research report published just in the last few months asks, can growth mindset interventions improve academic achievement? It's a structured review of the existing evidence. Big study, important study, really, really useful if you want your kids to do well. You know that whole idea of a growth mindset? Like, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. You're probably right either way. That is increasingly under scrutiny. It seems that the research evidence suggests that the growth mindset data is not living up to the promise, and we're going to unpack why that is next on the Happy Families podcast. It's the Happy Families podcast, real parenting solutions every day. Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We're Justin and Kylie Coulson. Every Thursday on the pod, we dissect recent research. We have a look at what's going on in the world of academia as it applies to you as a parent. Today, a conversation about growth mindsets and fixed mindsets. It seems that the science is far from settled.
So I'm going to assume that most people have heard of a growth mindset. It's been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
But can you dissect it a little bit? Can you help us to understand what it actually is and why it became so popular in the first place?
Okay, so in 2006, Carol Dweck, a Stanford University psychologist with a resume that would make just about any researcher on the planet jealous, published a best-selling popular book. It was not an academic book, called Mindset. And the idea is really, really simple. And I think that's why it's caught on so well. If you've got a fixed mindset, you believe that your intelligence is a fixed quantity. You can't increase it. You're either smart or you're dumb or you're somewhere in between. Maybe you're average or a bit above average. But that's kind of where you are. If you have a fixed mindset, therefore, you try to do stuff, well, you don't try. You do stuff that you know you can do and you avoid stuff that you know you can't because you're not very smart or you're not very this or you're not very that. And we have fixed mindsets about all kinds of things. Maybe it's our physical ability, our capacity to make friends. Some people say, oh, I'm an English person, but I'm not a maths person, right? So that fixed mindset idea is I either can or I can't. There's no in between. My brain doesn't work that way. Oh, the cross country's coming up. We're going to leave that to your friends to do the cross country. We're not runners in our family. We're readers. It's that kind of idea.
Yeah, but then you've got people who know that they're not good at something and they're not actually interested in improving, but they're willing to give it a go.
Right. And so
where does that fit?
You'd normally call that a growth mindset. So a growth mindset is no matter how intelligent you are, you can continually improve your intelligence. You can build your intelligence. You can become smarter. Your brain is like a muscle. So if you go into the gym and you lift muscles, your muscles get bigger and stronger and your brain works the same way. Fixed mindset says, no, you've either got muscles or you don't. Growth mindset says,
you've either got brains or you don't.
Well, no, growth mindset says you might not have them now, but you can learn the stuff and then you will have them. So the idea behind growth mindset is really optimistic. It's this concept that just because you can't right now doesn't mean you never will. The most important word in growth mindset research is yet. I can't do it yet. Okay,
so you're telling me that it's not true. No, is that what you were about to tell me?
No, that's not what I'm telling you.
Okay, all right. Well,
But a brand new research paper has thrown some pretty cold water on what has been a red hot topic for the last 20 years.
So there's no hope.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. Well, you've read this new comprehensive review.
It is comprehensive.
What does it actually share with us? What did you find out?
Okay, so first off, let's just get the details right. This was a paper that was published by Carolina Ghazmuri from Durham University in the UK. It was published in the Review of Education late in 2025. And this is a really comprehensive review. She's gone through a very, very rigorous search, screening and evaluation process, looking at the evidence from growth mindset interventions. She found 24 studies. All of them were randomized controlled trials, which is the gold standard that we're looking for, focused on growth mindset of intelligence interventions for school-aged children. And those RCTs, those randomized controlled trials, had to include output measures for academic performance. And here's the headline. I don't want to bury the lead. Their findings showed that the strongest studies, the ones with the largest sample sizes, the ones with the least missing data, the ones with the highest data quality, showed either null or very small effect sizes. Those effect sizes ranged from a Cohen's d of negative 0.01 to positive 0.065. There were some concerns around conflict of interest bias. There were some negative and null results that might still be unpublished. There were 4 evaluations with a high degree of trustworthiness and no conflict of interest. And among those, 2 studies showed no discernible impact of growth mindset interventions, and another 2 showed a very small impact. That's the science speak of what the research report showed.
Okay, so I've got 2 responses to that. The first one is, I think I can.
Yeah.
If I think I can, I try, right?
Yes.
So I don't understand how there was such little variance in the outcomes. Because if I don't believe I can, classic example, I really struggled with maths, and I still do. It's not a strong point of mine. And I actually had a teacher in grade 10 who just looked us all in the eye, and he said, it doesn't matter who you are, where you've come from. If you want to do well at maths, he said, you can get an A in my class.
Yep.
I still got a C minus or whatever.
Yeah, right. And then there's that argument, well, if you just did the work, then you would have got the A. And some people are like, no, I'm doing the work. It's just not working for me.
Yeah. So that's my first response.
Yeah.
So I'm really struggling with the fact that there was such little variance. But you kind of mentioned this whole Cohen's D of 0.065.
Yep.
What does that actually mean in the real world?
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Very, very science speaky. So basically Cohen's D, a guy called Jacob Cohen invented this thing called Cohen's D, and it theoretically ranges from negative infinity to positive infinity. But in practice, in educational research and in psychological research, you typically see values from -1 to +1. So, and most of those values will fall between 0.5 and -0.5. I'm going to keep you awake here with just one more thing. A small effect size is 0.2. A medium effect is 0.5. A large effect is 0.8, right? So if you're getting a Cohen's D of 0.2, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I guess this is making some difference, but it's not really a big deal. The growth mindset review that I've just talked about was from 0.01 to 0.065. To put that in perspective, 0.065 is about 1/3 of what Cohen said is a small effect size. So this is 1/3 of small. Negative 0.01 means there's no effect, there's no impact, there's nothing at all.
So researchers obviously recognized this.
Yeah.
And yet they published it and have taken the world by storm by it, in spite of the fact that there's actually zero research to support them. I mean, is this not controversial?
Yeah, it is controversial. And I mean, I've got a conflict of interest here as well, because I travel the country and I give talks on this very topic and teach teachers about how growth mindset works. And I teach them about everything that they don't know about growth mindset, because everyone thinks they know a lot about it, but they actually don't. And so it's really tricky to stand up in front of a bunch of teachers and talk about this when the research is questionable. Now, I've got some theories about it, and we'll talk about that in a sec, but that's the main thing. The other point that you raised is, but what about yet? What about I think I can? What about the little engine that could? I'm a huge believer in it. Whether or not the science is picking up, and this is the critical thing, is the science sensitive enough to pick up movement? Are we using the right measures? Are we doing this the right way? I just know that when I've got somebody who's standing beside me saying, I think you can, or if I'm saying to myself, I think I can, I usually go further and do more than if I'm thinking, I think I can't.
If I'm on the bike and I'm on my own and I'm going up some stinking hill and it's hard and I literally feel like I'm about to fall off, the only way I get over that hill is I literally scream at myself and say, Kylie, you can do this.
Right.
You've done this before.
Yep.
Get over the hill.
Yep.
But if I don't, then it literally, I honestly think I'd fall.
Like the belief that if you do stuff, if you keep on trying, you'll get better. That's got to count for something, right?
It has to.
It has to. And so therefore, I think that there are some.
But how do they
challenges.
measure that?
So after the break, let's talk a bit more about this study and what it really means if you're a teacher or if you're a parent and you want your kids to have a growth mindset, but this evidence is calling it all into question. Stay with us. We're back. It's the Happy Families podcast. Today, a doctor's desk episode about whether or not the research evidence is going to be useful, supportive, or worth doing anything about at all when it comes to this growth mindset stuff that everybody seems to love, but doesn't seem to work when you look at the data.
Well, you've already shared that you go into schools and teach this. So this is a really tricky and probably quite controversial, but because mindset is everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially in our education systems. So what should schools do differently based on this research?
Here's the way I see it. The mindset concept, when you run it as a whole school intervention and you say, we are going to sit down and explicitly teach kids this stuff, and then we're going to have a control group that doesn't get taught it, we're going to have a look at what happens with the grades. There could be any number of things that are going on here. School in and of itself is a controlling environment, and what happens in school classrooms in terms of the way feedback is given. And like one of the critical things in this area is the way we give praise, right? Carol Dweck makes a big deal about saying, make sure it's process praise, not person praise. Focus on the effort they're putting in, not the outcome they're providing. But if you look at the broader praise research, it says don't praise at all. I mean, it's really, really clear that praise is not a helpful thing when it comes to children and their achievement. So what I'm thinking when I look at this is they're doing these randomized controlled trials in the UK and in the US, and this is not the first research paper to call into question. But the school context matters, and the socioeconomic variables in the school matter, and the achievement standards of the students matter. There are so many variables here. It's so complicated.
Well, I think even your family dynamics, right?
Like the messages that you're getting at home.
Yeah. So if I go back to that maths scenario for me, my teacher believed I could get an A, but I never believed I could.
Precisely. And so no matter how many times somebody says, I believe in you, you've got the capacity, you can do this. If you're sitting there going, yeah, right, you're just saying it because you're the teacher, you get paid to do it, then you're not going to change your mindset. Teaching somebody the mindset concepts. I mean, we do this in our living room every Sunday with our kids, whether it's mindset or any number of the other things we try to teach our children about motivation, well-being, living a great life, being kind, being helpful, all that sort of stuff. Doesn't mean that they're going to believe it or do it. It takes a while for it to sink in. So you asked the question, what should schools do? This is the critical thing. No study has shown that there's any detrimental effects to teaching.
I was about to say that.
So if you look at screens in schools, there's a whole lot of studies that show that there are detrimental impacts from relying too heavily on technology. But there are no studies that are really showing, oh my goodness, this is making a huge positive difference.
Yeah.
With the mindset research, there are no studies showing that there are negatives. There are some studies showing positives and some saying it's not really doing anything. I would rather take my chances with something that has pretty much no downside, but potentially upside. And that's how I look at this. If you're in a school environment or if you're a parent, you're going, oh, so what's the point? What's this whole conversation about? It's as follows. There's no downside to teaching growth mindset. There's no downside at all. The research, I have never found a single paper that said, not only does this not work, but it's harmful. I've never found that. All I've ever found are papers that say, well, the upside might not be quite as up as everyone says that it is. It looks like there might be a neutral effect at best in some cases, but it certainly doesn't drop below neutral. So therefore, I mean, long answer, but don't stop doing it.
So if the evidence was so weak, why do you think that growth mindset became so popular?
Because it's so catchy. It's so easy to get your head around. It's that simple.
Really?
Totally. Because if I say to you, if you believe that you can do it, you're going to try harder than if you don't believe you can do it. That's a really easy concept to catch. People understand the idea of persistence, resilience. I think I can, the little engine that could. This is taking something that's old and putting so it's familiar, but putting a fresh spin on it and putting some science around it. It's caught on because people instinctively understand. It makes sense.
So some people are going to hear this and they're going to literally say, but growth mindset's made all the difference in my kid's classroom.
That's my point. Like that is literally my point. The research evidence may not tell us that there are going to be positive effects in all these gold standard randomized controlled trials. But when you talk to people who are doing it, people like you and I with our own kids, classroom teachers all over the country, they'll say, when I change the language and when I focus on helping kids to just give it one more go, they make more progress. They have more light bulb moments. They have greater success than if I say, you know what, I don't think you were really cut out for English. I don't think that you should do the cross country. It's just not you. You're not that kind of kid. That doesn't lead to positive outcomes.
So what's your message to educators who've invested a lot into this whole growth mindset in their classrooms. They might be feeling defensive or disappointed about this research. What would you say to them?
I guess it's just a summary of everything we've discussed, and that is that the language that we use will have an impact on the motivation and the effort that many, though not all, students will put in, and it's the same at home. Therefore, words like, there is no triumph without the trial, you can't do it yet, that which we persist in doing becomes easier for us to do. Not that the nature of the thing itself has changed, but that our power to do has increased. Those kinds of slogans, quotes, ideas, they count. Resilience doesn't feel resilient when you're in it. And as we foster that attitude, being in the learning zone, being uncomfortable and recognizing that because you're uncomfortable, the longer you can stay there, the more you'll learn and grow, that will lead to better outcomes. This should not be disputed. This should not be in question. It's just that some kids come from backgrounds where it's not showing up, and some schools aren't getting the results in the studies. The RCTs aren't always showing it. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means right now that the evidence is needing refining. So that's it for our Doctor's Desk episode today. I'll link to it in the show notes for those who would like to get into the nitty-gritty of the research. Thanks so much for listening. We're back tomorrow with more on the Happy Families podcast, which is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides research and admin support. And for more info to make your family happier, visit us at happyfamilies.com.au.